Worldbox, a game where the entire world is at your fingertips. In previous videos, we have watched empires fall and rise over thousands of years while the people are exposed to absolute calamity of all orders. But it got me wondering, what if instead of giving 50 or 100 years between each calamity, I just took a small group of humans and exposed them to every calamity possible? Would they survive? Would they gain superpowers? There's only one real way to find out. So here are the rules. We will start with 5 humans close to the center of the landmass. We will give them 10 years to grow. Then every decade, a new calamity will befall them. If they are all destroyed at one point, I will put down half their old population back, and in exchange, I will destroy a slice of land. The sim will end when they run out of land or when they survive every single calamity I can throw at them. So let's get it started. Of course, we're going to have an iceberg world, as always. Alrighty, so this is the slice of land we're going to be working with. The only thing we need to do to prep all of this is we're going to take some humans. We're going to put them right next to this oasis here. I'm very curious to see how long Oafdrum lasts. I feel like these people know what I'm about to do to them. They've managed to quintuple their population. Alright, we've already made it to year 10. We've got a bunch of tents set up, and they've managed to nearly quintuple their population from 5 to 24. But I don't think it's going to last too long. You know what? We're going to start things off pretty basic, but still pretty dangerous. A fleet of skeletons is going to arrive in town. Let's make it 13 skeletons, because it's unlucky. The skeletons managed to kill the king. It took them 3 years to eliminate all of the skeletons. I don't know if that bodes well for their future. And before you know it, we're in the year 20. We have now doubled the population again. We've now got 45 people in this village, and they've managed to build themselves a little town hall. As well as a pier. Very nice, very nice. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't make it harder on them. This time around, I'm feeling a little whimdy. They can't fight this off, but it also isn't guaranteed to hit them. Off it goes. Tornado did not do much, though. While I wasn't paying attention, they managed to expand to 3 new villages. 1 big one and 2 fledgling villages. Good for them. I don't know how well it'll last for them, but good for them. Alright, we've hit the year 30. So, considering the fact that we're going to be using everything in the Destruction Powers tab, as well as pretty much everything in the Natural Disasters tab, it probably would be a good idea to get some of the smaller stuff out of the way. So we're going to start by just hitting every village with a grenade. Just a little grenade. You know, it's like a broken bone. If we break it hard enough, it'll grow back stronger. Let those fires rage. By the year 40, they'd managed to get themselves set up with a little windmill, as well as a little ore mine. Very nice, very nice. But more unfortunately for them, for no reason at all, a lava cloud managed to show up on the western shore and traipsed its burning madness all the way across the island. Oh no, it took out the pier! No! Oh, the lava cloud managed to summon an age of chaos as well. I didn't even do that on purpose. The game just decided it's chaos time. Right in time for the 50th anniversary, too. How perfect. Now, in the year 50, while things were definitely still burning, and the lava had a very lasting impact on the passability of a lot of these areas, I thought it might be time for a little something special. So for year 50, I brought out the big guns. I zoomed out all the way, closed my eyes, and sent a meteor down. While it didn't hit much, it managed to completely burn out one of the windmills. Now, right around year 60, we had a rebellion. The city of Capua broke off from the original kingdom, and now we've got 2 kingdoms here. But I don't think that's enough. And while the Civilizations, Kingdoms, and Villages tab does not have a lot of calamities, there is inspiration. And if we hit all these towns with inspiration, there's not 2 kingdoms at war, now there's 8. So I hope they enjoy that. By the year 65, most of the fighting had stopped. Alliances formed, and everybody just focused on building up again. By the year 70, over half of the continent had been successfully settled. And I just felt so good for them, I decided to bless them with one of the greatest things I can. Acid rain. Enjoy! Isn't it nice? In the year 80, I granted every capital city the gift of napalm. And boy oh boy did they love it. Really does good for the housing districts. Checking in year 90, before we give them another calamity, I'm seeing a little bit of change. The two capital cities that used to be down in the southwest corner have now been taken over and are now vassals. Even more interesting enough, there are now kingdoms in the north. We've got the island kingdom of Chuminsk, as well as the arid kingdom of Aforto. Aforto didn't only manage to destroy the original kingdom of Govdrun, but they also managed to destroy the OG kingdom of Ofdrun. Honestly, pretty impressive for them this early on. Because I have something special planned for the year 100, I'm going to take it a little bit easier on them. And instead, in the year 90, I'm only going to make the entire mountain erupt with lava. You know, something small. Congratulations, civilization! You've made it to the year 100! And you know, in celebration of this great and joyous event, I'm gonna give all of you a bowling ball. You get a bowling ball. Oh lord. You get a bowling ball. You get a bowling ball. And you, and you, and you, and you. Everybody gets one. Everybody gets a bowling ball. After all the bowling balls, I feel like they still hadn't celebrated enough, so I decided to blot out the sun with ash. So funny enough, by the year 105, enough lava had cooled that what was once a impassable wall of lava in the middle of the ocean actually turned into a little land bridge that is now being utilized by people and animals alike to move between the two biomes. So in the year 110, I noticed a bunch of chickens directly in the center of the island. And I realized that this chicken civilization has not once felt my wrath. So I antimattered them out of existence. Enjoy that, chickens! Unfortunately, out of spite, the chicken number doubled the next year. I will get you. So by the year 120, I was noticing that we'd essentially had 3 distinct kingdoms at this point. While the kingdom of Beaumont and Linia were just kinda left alone on their little peninsula at the bottom in the south, Popwa and Hikjo managed to take over pretty much the entire continent between the two of them, just carving it up and slicing it out for both of them to take over. We've had a huge population boom, and the world population is now above 2.5 thousand. And while that is great, I do feel like it's time to turn things up a little bit. So I'm going to put a bunch of earthquakes all over the place. No one will be spared from this. In the year of 130, we'd now entered a Age of Wonders. We'd had a couple of schisms, and a couple of kingdoms had tried to or successfully broken away, like the Kingdom of In. Considering that, I decided to be merciful this time around. And by merciful, I mean I set fire to everything. Everything's on fire now. In the year 150, I felt like everything had gotten a little bit too calm. The population had gotten pretty large, and everyone had grown pretty complacent. I decided it was time to stir things up using Cold Ones and Demons, but instead of just spawning them natively, I decided to use the Ice Towers and Flame Towers for them, as this will spawn a consistent slew of them out into the world to wage chaos. Unfortunately, it seems like they were rather quickly repelled. In the year 160, I was still a little bit miffed about the year 150 and how little of an impact it had. So I decided to cover everything in huge amounts of rage. A lot more than the acid clouds and even more than the ash clouds. This should block out the sky for over a year. In the year 170, I started something that, given a little time, absolutely decimated the population. In the largest kingdom, in the largest city of Aichgo, I gave the entire military plague. They immediately engaged in conflict with another military, and infected that military with the plague as well. More and more soldiers poured in over the following years, and took the plague home to all of their groups as well. In just 10 years, the city of Aichgo not only changed hands 3 times, but went from a population of over 150 to a population of 8. All of the nearby towns as well also found that their population heavily diminished as a result too. But this year, I'm going to give them something actually living, and spawned a dragon on top of every single capital. By the year 190, plague had managed to spread to every single corner of the island. And considering that it probably was going to wipe out everybody everywhere if not dealt with, I decided to put in a few plague doctors. But in exchange for this wonderful gift, I also decided to put a couple of necromancers and evil mages into the mix as well. Not every wanderer that shows up at the village will be friendly. Like this village trusted the wrong guy. In the year 200, I decided it was time for another big celebration. And the Sarabamba is exactly what I wanted. Considering we're in the year 200, I decided to drop 20. Leaving the world irreparably damaged and broken. By the year 210, I was kind of shocked with the numbers of settlements, especially the ones that were built directly inside of fallout zones. But if the humans can do it, the humans can do it. So I decided to take it easy on them and just release some bandit hordes upon the villages. They did manage to completely destroy one town though. In the year 230, I decided to bring on quite a strange curse. I made all of the houses walk, and therefore become enemies to the people who used to live inside of them. This made everything get up and start fighting the people. Many villages could not handle it. Many lights faded away, and as the people passed, mushroom spores started to grow and fester. After the Calamity, there was only one human left. In the northmost kingdom of Pasyao, everything else had completely gone dark. But you know what they say about humble beginnings. In order to even the score just a little bit, I decided to grant my blessing upon the king of this kingdom. This would give him better abilities. In exchange for this, though, I dropped a couple of atomic bombs. And while there aren't many people right now who are going to be impacted by this, the fallout from this will have lasting impact. In the year 250, I realized I had a lot of land to work with, but nearly none of it was currently cultivated. So instead of putting something directly on the doorstep of the town, I instead set up a couple of things for long term. I put snakes in the south, so that they could grow and multiply, create a snake peninsula. I took some bears and put them in the mountains. I put crocodiles in the water, the west, and piranhas to the east. Then, for extra flavor, I set up a tumor in the south, biomass in the west, cybercore in the east, and a super pumpkin in the north. In the year 270, the king that I blessed abandoned his people, which I cannot believe. This angers me so. So in exchange for his foolishness, I decided to send Robot Santa, a couple of Robot Santas, to air raid the land, punishing them for their petulance. Unfortunately, this was too much for the small village to take, and it got destroyed. So, considering the population before that Calamity was 30, I will be placing 15 more humans back on the map. But instead of putting them all together, I will be making 3 groups of 5. Unfortunately, 2 of the 3 was immediately destroyed, and then the final one was destroyed. So, following the rules, I put down some more humans. This time I went with 8 of them, as that's roughly half of 15, and I put them all in one place to try and hedge the bet. They immediately decided to fight a house, and lost. So I chose another spot and placed down 4. Now I also took this opportunity to remove the land that they were going to lose as punishment. One for the original resettlement, another for the resettlement that had to happen after that, and another for the resettlement that had to happen after that. The world's looking just a little bit smaller. They better be careful or they're gonna run out of land. By the year 290, Lero had just barely gotten over 10 population. At a measly 13, it's not like they'd be able to take much of a calamity directly. So being on the Age of Extinction, I decided to play nice with them and only spawned half of their population as snowmen. If they can't handle 7 snowmen, they don't deserve to be here. It took a staggering 8 years, but eventually the 7 pitiful little snowmen were repelled, at the expense of only 3 kings and half the population. In the year 300, I decided to send a message to my people through the classic and mystical form of Heat Ray. Perfect! Now all of them should know how I feel. In the year 310, I pulled out the last animal from the Animals and Monsters tab to be used. My skywriting seems to have attracted some groups of people who I did not think would be annoyed by it. Aliens. In the year 340, the population had finally bounded back and gotten to just over 200, so I decided to snap my fingers and make it 100 again. In the year 350, something truly dreadful was released upon the island. At the tippiest, topmost, northmost corner of it, a single piece of gray goo. It grew. With no containment, it began swallowing the entire island. By the year 355, over half of the entire island had been swallowed by the goo. And by the year 357, it was knocking on the door of the last vestiges of civilization. But it did not stop. It moved through and destroyed everything. So right before everything was completely destroyed, I paused the game real quick and just had a look around, trying to find a single piece of land that could be usable just to plop somebody on and start over from. Unfortunately, there was nothing anywhere. And considering the number of calamities that these people have had to face, I decided it was time to just let them rest. And with that, the world has been wiped clean by our calamities.